I never understood why it's so hard for me to disappoint people, but somehow incredibly easy to put myself last. Like, cancel my own plans? No problem. Push my needs to later? Done. Convince myself I'm fine when I'm clearly not? Professional. But the idea of someone being mildly annoyed with me? Absolutely not. Unacceptable. We don't do that here. For a long time, I didn't call this people-pleasing. I called it being considerate, flexible, understanding. You know, all the words people use right before you quietly rearrange your entire life. And I really believed it. I thought I was just easy to deal with, which sounds great until you realize easy usually means you don't require much. I was the person who said, "It's fine, whatever works," while mentally calculating how tired I'd be later. The person who meant yes before my body had even finished reacting. And somehow I thought this meant I was kind. In reality, I was just very good at minimizing myself politely. What I've learned about myself is that I don't actually struggle with boundaries. I struggle with what happens after I set them. The guilt, the mental replay, the urge to send a follow-up explanation just in case someone thinks I'm difficult. Because apparently, being perceived as difficult feels more dangerous than being exhausted, which is interesting. I didn't wake up one day and decide, I'm going to prioritize everyone else. It was quieter than that. It started with noticing things early. Who got upset easily, who shut down, who needed things done a certain way for the emotional temperature to stay stable. And without anyone explaining it, I learned something important. Peace mattered. Tension didn't feel neutral, and if things felt off, someone needed to fix it. So I did. I learned how to read the room before I learned how to read myself. I learned how to adjust my tone, my timing, my opinions. I learned when to agree quickly and when to disappear politely. Which, by the way, is a very impressive skill for a child to develop. Also extremely inconvenient later. Because it works. People like you, people trust you, people feel comfortable around you. You become the reliable one, the easy one, the one who's always understanding. And no one notices that you're constantly editing yourself to stay that way. At some point, though, you start feeling tired in a way rest doesn't fix. Not dramatic burnout, just a low-level emotional fatigue, the kind that comes from constantly checking, is everyone okay? Before asking, am I? What I didn't realize for a long time is that people-pleasing isn't about wanting approval, it's about wanting predictability. If everyone's okay, nothing bad happens. If I stay agreeable, connection stays intact. If I don't rock the boat, I won't be the one who makes things feel weird. Which sounds reasonable until you realize you've been the one absorbing all the discomfort. People say people-pleasers are afraid of conflict. That's not quite right. I'm not afraid of conflict. I'm afraid of being the source of it, of being remembered as too much or selfish or difficult, even if that means I slowly become invisible to myself. Very team player of me. And the irony is, people often tell me I should put myself first, which, yes, that sounds correct, but what they don't see is that putting myself first still sets off the same internal alarm, the one that says, careful, this could cost you something. So instead, I negotiate with myself. I'll do it this time, I'll rest after, I'll speak up next time. And somehow, next time never quite arrives. What really got my attention was noticing how normal this felt, how automatic it was to override my own needs, how familiar it felt to be flexible instead of honest. Not because I didn't matter, but because being adaptable once kept things calm. I don't think people-pleasers are weak. I think they're observant. I think they learned early how to keep the emotional peace. And that skill stuck. I still catch myself right before I say yes to something I don't want to do.
That tiny pause, that moment where my body already knows the answer and my mouth is still negotiating. Because saying yes is familiar, efficient, smooth. It keeps things comfortable. Which brings me here. I didn't become a people pleaser because I'm overly nice. I became one because I learned early how to keep the emotional peace. 10 out of 10 survival skill, 0 out of 10 long-term strategy. Yay me!